Okay, so today is a little bit delayed as we need to get all things set up properly. But today we're going to talk about figure, which we talked a bit about figure last time, but I think that today is actually just telling you the concrete skills to really make these figures in terms of how to decompose a figure and how to really use some techniques to make them. So this agenda is pretty simple. I'll start with some of my thoughts and then trying to talk about the analogies between making figures as well as writing code, which I think that's pretty interesting. And then finally, I'll just elaborate on how to decompose a figure and then the concrete steps you can use some of the tools to make the figures. Okay, so Prologue is some of my personal thoughts for this, which is I want this lecture just go beyond just typical software tutorial, right? Because of course they're important, but then you can find a ton of like Figma and Adobe Illustrator tutorials on the web, right? But then I think one key piece it took me quite some time to figure out is like I'm trying to teach algorithms like you are doing like learning programming, right? And not just teaching you how to write some specific code for using some specific programming language here. And then this goes to the idea to draw. So I'm drawing an analogy between making figures and writing code, which I want to make this claim there is a strong connection between them. So let's say in writing code, here there are 4 components here, which is this is the process. When writing some code, you start with some general skeleton. You start with this like rough definition of functions. You start with the skeletons, and then you start with then you add the details for how to really implement these functions, right? And then in the process of programming, you are constantly think more about this problem, knowing deeper about the space of the problem, and then you have more thoughts. You generate more like inspirations as long as you see more code being written on the canvas. And then finally, there's like some refactor process, which is sometimes you see your pile of code and you feel like how could I write this? And then you want to start over and then destroy everything and then start from scratch with some novel insights and findings. And finally, sometimes you can reuse some components written before, right? You don't want to build everything before. Just like the last time I showed you, like I can reuse some examples for making the figures, even though I, almost built from scratch, right? And then, if we think about this, making figures, it's kind of a similar process, right? You start from skeleton to the detail. You draw like a rough shape of a cat. What are the like distinctive visual feature of the cat face, and then sometimes you add more details. You turn something to that like refined visuals there, right? And then you are constantly reflecting about the problem, right? Because the more you draw, the more you see about the figure, and okay, something works, something doesn't work, and then you start to understand more about the problem. And then finally, you do refactoring, right, which I showed you last time. There's a constant like making and remaking, and then you can reuse some components here. Okay, so then they are roughly equivalent to each other, maybe. But then think again, like in writing code, there are some very familiar concepts that we know. For example, we know certain programming languages. We know their syntax. We know their features. We know some APIs for doing stuff, right? We have our own IDEs. We have our own development environment for doing stuff very quickly, efficiently, like Vim, PyCharm, and VS Code, right? We have our system for collaboration and then sharing. We can collaborate on GitHub, share our code on GitHub, and then publish our Python libraries to some like repository like PyPI, right? And then we have all the ecosystem. We have these plugins, we have the CMake, we have other workflows to support us to code, right? But then think again, like what are these analogies in terms of making figures? All right, so what is there's a typo there, but what is a language? What is the programming language in this case of making figures, right? So I claim that they are the shapes, the colors, the fonts. This are like the elementary units you can operate with. But then the idea is like, I just want to raise a question, like how much do you really, like how much knowledge do you have with respect to this few components here, right? Compared to your knowledge of certain programming languages. But by the way, I'm assuming that audience have some knowledge about programming, but maybe that's a bad assumption. But I hope it's like too much analogy to really confuse you about the concept here. Okay. And then for the development environment, right? I mean, I assume this is a tool you are using because I chatted with you last time. You told me you were using Google Slides, Keynotes, and some like Diagram.io, some other tools, which is some like nice choices. But I really want to stress about this, which is, I don't know if you ever try to use Notepad for coding, which is like nothing support. It's just like, you are really stand on your own doing stuff, right? But I feel like, did you ever feel something like this when you use some of the figure drawing tools? There's literally no support. You just want to do everything on your own, right? And then collaboration and sharing. So, apparently there are some design sharing platforms. But then the question is like, how do you find the most relevant design in a similar way as trying to find, like a Python library for your project, right? And then finally, the ecosystem, which is, I will say something about Figma plugins, and maybe you can build your own, which maybe you can talk about in the last session of this class, which apparently I prompted GPT-4 to build a like Figma plugin to do something for this class. So yeah, okay. So far so good. Just to not to confuse people, then we'll start to go to the like interactive demo session. Okay, cool. All right. So today's agenda is going to show you 3 levels of things. So I'm trying to show you some kind of algorithms in figure making, some kind of common visual techniques for you to build like complex stuff, right? And I'm also in the process, I'm going to expose something about the languages as well as like the tooling and the development environment as in the process, just as like trying to showcase how they're fitting together and then how this could be applied in like a real world like figure making process. And okay, since we touched none of them, I just label them as like white colors, and then as long as we touch some of them, we'll label them in different colors. And by the way, I have done like note-taking sheet. You can take a look, and then in case you need that. And then last slide before more like talking, which is for more talking, which is like think again in coding. If you're like a good programmer, I think you must be pretty confident in terms of, oh, yeah, I saw some functionality or saw some like rough structure people have written before, right? I know how I can do to re-implement their work, right? Because that's like, that's a way, you show your like grasp of the programming techniques and languages, right? And similar here, if you really know the tool, and I think you can really easily reproduce any of the figures you saw on the web. And then the other claim is like, actually the process of reproducing the figures is kind of a nice way for you to learn how this basic techniques. And then basically the journey today is like, we have 3 figures to show you we'll do the recreation together. And then we'll check the boxes for the other for the techniques we just mentioned, okay? So, all right, so let's jump to the first one. We're going to do this in a minute, but I just want to quickly describe this figure. This is a pretty famous figure now in terms of natural language processing, because this T5 paper, firstly, it was cited by, I don't know, maybe 10K people. And then there's like very strong ideas that, kind of steer the field to some of the large language model, the ChatGPT-like style models we've seen today. And then this kind of diagram is like a very classic-ish nowadays, because many people trying to mock this figure in their own papers for many stuff. And then this is not a hard figure, but I just want to show you some of the concepts of making the figures using Figma, and as like starter and teaser example for you to really understand. And of course, we'll try to do something better, slightly better than this one here, trying to recover some of the design principles and then the general ideas for making figures from the last class. Okay. So the way I'm going to do this is like there is a shared file. Actually, if you saw the Slack message, you can just open this and watch me in like Figma directly there. And perhaps I need to stop sharing now because I need to change the projector mode so I can do the coding like figure making here as well. Okay, so making this figure 45. So I want to stop for like, I don't know, for 1 minute and then ask your thoughts about what are the elements in this figure. And then as like rough sketch in terms of how we are going to start.
In terms of shapes, we have this rectangles with rounded corners. All the rectangles are like that, and then we have some curved lines which are basically arrows, but not with arrows.
Yeah. Sounds great.
And then we have some text on them.
And also colors, right? Because they use color as a correspondence between like the input and output. Okay. All right. So let's start. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of this like prepared text to the canvas here, such that we don't need to type the text, right? We don't need to do anything on our own. Okay. So the first thing we typically start is we start creating a frame. Which is just like a page of paper in the context of Figma. And then the idea is, okay, we have this frame, and then each frame contains like contains like all the elements in this figure here, right? And then the way to do so is, okay, so there are a bunch of rectangles, right? So we want to recreate some rectangles, and then basically the idea is, okay, we draw a rectangle using the function here, which there has a shortcut for R. I just use R to draw a rectangle here. And then note that there's a rectangle with some with some corner radius, right? So we can adjust the corner here. So maybe we can change this to like, I don't know, 25 as a quick starting point, right? We saw a roughly the same shape here. And you see there's an edge, there's this like a stroke around this box here. So we just go to here and then we add a stroke here. And I don't know if you can see it very clearly. I hope you can. If not, you can just jump to the Figma one. And then we can change that to, I don't know, like 3 as a stroke, like line widths. And I think it's kind of the same, feels the same now. Now, and then I want to move the text to this one here. So in Figma, like you cannot really have a rectangle with text. So we want to create like separate text layer. So that's the text layer here. And then the way to go is like I'm just going to copy the text here. I want to create like text region and then paste the text here. But then here comes our first issue here, which is these are in different fonts, right? Apparently, you can see this font is kind of different from that one, and then now it's like a good time for us to catch up something about fonts, which is the font here is like a monospace font, which is kind of mostly used for it's often them for use for coding, and then you might want to pick many other different fonts, and then the way to do so, I typically do it now, is like I go to fonts.google.com, which they provide a ton of open sourced, overall nice fonts you can go from, and then here since they have this like monospace font, right? So I can just go to the filters and then search for like monospace. And then there's a ton of like fonts look like that, has the same feeling of the coding like style, as well as this like even space. And by the way, I don't know if you need me to do that, but are you familiar with like serif and sans serif font? Okay, cool. Like TLDR, like serif is the one with all this like decorative and embellished to the text, and then sans serif is this one like like very rigid very straightforward text. Okay, so we'll just pick one here. Maybe I would choose for the monospace one. I would choose I don't know Noto Sans Mono maybe. And then the nice feature about Figma is that it incorporates all the fonts from Google Fonts. So if I just search for I don't know, Noto Sans Mono. Really? It did not show up. That's crazy. Oh yeah. If we choose Noto Sans, and I think there's a monospace option there. Okay, this seems to be a bad example here, but maybe we can just go to like Inconsolata. This font is kind of the other go-to choice for like monospace font. And now we see the text has like similar filling and texture compared to this one here, right? So the next difference is like kind of the size is kind of different. So we use the panel here to change the size. Maybe we will go to 36 and then make it like slightly bolded. And then now it seems to be good. And then we just slightly reshape and then maybe more fine-grained adjustment for the text. And then now so far so good. Okay, so now there's a little point I want to make here, which is like there are 3 text box like mode, which is I'm just going to copy this for 3 times, right? Okay, I just hit Command D to copy this. And again, another one, okay? Which is, you see here, there's like a blue box covering all the region, right? That's like the fixed box mode, which, you can specify the width, the height of the box on your own, which this will be useful somehow later. And I'll change this one to this mode, which is like, oh, this is just, unless you manually type a new line, it will not do the line breaking, okay? For example, if I just type, sorry. Sorry. This one is like dynamic, like line breaking mode, which is you can specify the widths of the box here, and then you do the line breaking for you. And then the next one is the one which we will not, which is like the fixed mode, which is like you can type infinitely, and then it won't do the line breaking for you. Okay, so this will be used somehow in the next few examples, but I just remove them for now, and I just make it like the fixed width mode. Okay, I put this text into this box, which I need to resize the box, of course. And then the last thing is like I just need to adjust the color here for the box, right? Such that you have the consistent like green color. So of course I can use this like a color picker to find the green color from the previous example. But I think this is also like good opportunity for us to review like which color you should use in your design, right? Because one common strategy is like you pick the colors from the color palette. If you open like Google Slides, and then you typically see there's a bunch of like pre-specified colors. I don't know, it's here, and if you see here, they give you a grid of colors, which is their like a preset color palette, right? But I think in order to do something slightly better for your design, I think one thing to do is like to have some slightly distinctive fillings for your colors. And then one way to do so is going to some of the open source color palettes, which, for example, the one I'm using here is called like Open Color, which they systematically pick a wide range of colors and with specific many different goals to create this one. And then when you start to use this one here, you can start to you can do your color schema more systematically, but also 2, you can start to create some sort of like a unique style and distinct feelings for your content. Okay, so what I did already is like I already imported the color schemas to my Figma, which should be pretty straightforward. Which I can show you maybe not now but later. But basically the way I'm going to do is, okay, I save the color in my libraries, so they are this like open color, different like shades and different like saturation here, right? I'm just going to find the green ones here, or maybe lime ones, which is like more softer green here, and I just pick this one. Maybe it's too bad, and if I just pick like one, it start to kind of have to share the same feeling here. Okay, so I'm not optimizing to find the best color for now, but I just want to tell you like this is like something about colors. Okay, now I'm going to stop here. Like what are you going to do next? Okay, I'll just show both of the color here. Come on, this is like very apparent answer, right? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you want to recreate all the other boxes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Right. And then basically, I want to really highlight this point, which is like one way to do so is very simple, right? We can just create okay. By the way, we can create like a group in Figma, which is like, of course, you may create groups in other software, right? I don't want to say more about that. One way to do that is, yeah, I just copy this again, right? And then I just paste the text here, and then say, oh yeah, maybe I will use this like formatted pasting, which is like you hit like Command Shift and V, you will paste without pasting the style here, okay? But then here, just like, oh, I copied this, and I got the color here. Maybe this rectangle has this like maybe reddish color here for this one here, right? And et cetera, right? So that's the most straightforward thing we can do here, right? But I want to stop here, just show you the power of Figma. This goes to the reason why I'm using Figma right now, which is the problem of doing this is like, if you need to change the rectangle here for some reasons, you need to change the overall appearance of the rectangle, then you need to manually to apply the style for each of the boxes next, right? But then Figma provides this functionality. I guess other software can also do that, which is you can create components, like reusable like functions, like in coding, for all your designs, such that anything you change for that component can also be applied to other rectangles automatically. Which the way I'm going to do so is I have this box here, right? And then I'm going to hit this button, like create component. That's it. So I'm going to move this outside, but then this is a component, and then what I'm doing is like I hit like a control control and then drag it to create like an instance of that component. Okay, I have two components now, right? So this is the first one. I can do that again. So you go here and then you hit control and then drag it. There are just two like instance here, and then how to differentiate them, because you see the icon here for this object is this like component icon, and then here is like the instance icon here. Okay, so the magical part is like, okay, if I'm going to change anything for this component, the other like items will be automatically changed. I can do many crazy things. I don't know. I can maybe change the background color, easy. I can go here and say, okay, I don't like this font. I change this font. It's automatically changed for the other elements. Okay, that is the way you can make your life easier for your next paper, which is like if you have many of this like repetitive like elements in your work, you can use this component to streamline the editing. But then the problem here is like, okay, we have these two identical components, right? Like we don't want this like to be identical all the time, right? We need to change the text and then change the color background, right? So the way we're going to do so is called like overriding here, which is for this component, you can just change the text, like it's like being overridden for this component. And now if you change anything about that, it won't change the text, right? You just like type anything, it won't change the text here, right? So now we can do this like copying this text here, and then we use like Shift Command V to do this like stylus pasting, and then we got the text here. And then similarly, we can do the color changing as well. So now the idea is like, okay, we can change the color into red color, and still the same, like, if we change anything here, it will not change the color there because the color has been overwritten for this specific instance here. Okay, so now we just do more work here to get other elements ready there. which I should do this copying as well. So now it goes to the problem, which is like you can also override the vertical height of the object very easily. And then finally, we do this for the last one. Okay, so now, okay, this is definitely not the best case, but we'll just live with that for now. This thing will show up again. All right. So now, then it goes to some other issues in terms of this height here is not perfect, which we'll address very quickly. But the next thing is like, okay, so now we have this 4 different boxes. But then the quick thing is like, okay, the gap between them is kind of varied, which is like a kind of very bad practice. So now I'm going to show you one quick way. Is like there's a functionality for alignment and distributed vertical spacing, which you can automatically space this object evenly across here. And then next thing I'm just going to do is like, okay, I can just quickly change the colors, maybe yellow and then blue. So now we have this 4 elements, right? And then similarly we can just do the other 4 and then get it in here. And then maybe we can just do this like reshaping, resizing for them as a group, and then we can just create like the final T5 component, which supposedly it is a different component here, right? Because they have the very giant T5 at the center, right? What I'm going to do is like, okay, I create another instance here, but then they share roughly the same structure there, right? But I don't want to do this from scratch, but then they're different. So I want to do this like called like detached instance. So basically now, whatever I change for this one here, it will not change anything for this component here, right? And then now I just like type a T5, and then this is just showing up. Maybe I just put it here. Okay, and then now I'm just trying to do the adjustment as needed. You know, we make the T5 bigger. We make this font text maybe like 84. Maybe it's not giant enough. Maybe we can make it even bigger, which is this big. And then I want to slide. There's like a bit technique here, which is very minor. But then the way we do so is like we can adjust the centering mode to make the easier adjustment here. So for the T5 here, we are using the left alignment in the text box, right? We can change this to like text align in the center and the text align in the vertical center, right? And then we chose these 2 elements, and now we choose this 2, which is like align objects horizontally and then align objects vertically. So these 2 boxes will be like, maybe I should show you this way, right? I have these 2 boxes now. I can align this vertically and horizontally. Now they are perfectly aligned. Okay. So now, like, I just need to change the background color, maybe like a gray 0, and I'll remove this empty box here. So now this is our T5 box, and then we just create like a group here. Done. That's a T5 box here. Okay. So now, one easy way we can do is we can connect the arrows here. So one way to do so is like use this like pen function. So it can allow you to create this like curly arrows like this one here. Okay. So now you have this curly arrows, and then maybe I can make it like thicker so you can see like the arrow here. But then you know, like this is time consuming. I don't want to redo that for all this 5. Now we can start to talk about plugins. So there's a plugin called like Auto Arrow, which I'll show you doing this too, and then I can just link them. Basically, you open this plugin, and then you choose 2 boxes, and then you click link. It will be automatically linked. And then similarly, I'll do this here. Now, and then okay, we got a like good start for all this figures, and then like we can change some the style of the lines here, because they don't have the original arrows here, right? So one way we can do so is like, okay, we can go to each of, you see this is like the actual line here drawn by this plugin here. It had this like, if you go to here, you had this like pointer there, right? You can just change this one to none, so it doesn't have a pointer there. So I can isolate this thing. It doesn't allow me to do so for some reasons, but you see the idea. Okay, so now like the other thing I can do is I'll use a function called like select all with the same properties. Maybe I should do that again. Select all with the same field. Oh, doesn't work. Okay, but anyway, like what I can do now is I close this one. I'll ungroup all these objects, and then now it's a bunch of like lines here, right? So I can just remove the arrows here, and I can even like add another arrow and then swap them. Okay, but then the thing I'm going to show you is like, okay, so we have this arrow here, right? And then if we want to remove all these lines with the arrows, what we can do here, right? So what we can do here is we go here, select all with the same property. I see that's the reason why. So I need to remove this from the group. Do that again, select all with the property. See, we select all the lines here, and then we just do this. And now all the lines, all the arrows have been removed. So that's like roughly done for us, but I want to go back because there are some costs for doing that. But okay, so the idea is like, the problem with the auto arrows is like, okay, if you move the boxes, you will not actually like change the arrow pointers here, right? But then what we can do is like, because this plugin, if we open that, it will do this automatic update. Let me show you that. But basically the idea is like, it will do the automatic update for the arrows here for you. So if you just do anything, it will just change the arrows for you in some way. Okay, so all right. So hope that's not too much, but okay, it seems it removed all the arrows. I need to do that again, so it should be straightforward. Okay, so far so good. Any questions or any concerns or other things? Yeah. Okay, yeah. Or maybe do you think that some of the things will be helpful? Or maybe because I need to gauge like in which way we're going to go for the next one. Yeah. Okay. So everything good on Zoom, I guess? I cannot really see you, but okay, cool. Maybe, okay. Cool. All right. So there are, of course, some imperfectness of each of the objects, which I don't want to address it here because there are some like other concepts be covered in other examples, which maybe we'll be able to go back and then talk about this later. But then if we continue here, in the example just before, we talked about, actually I need to mention this, but then we talked about font, colors. We did not, actually I can talk about icons right now. And then we talk about the setup of Figma. Basically, you start with a frame, you draw shapes, and then you adjust the corner radius. You know how to create text layers. You know about how to adjust styles, picking fonts. You know something about the spacing, something about the styling, and you know how to create the components based on that, right? So now, one thing actually I think that's a good reminder for me. Like I can actually add icons for this one to make this slightly better, which I think now it's kind of very typical for people to put emojis or some of this like SVGs for their figures to make it more like visually appealing. And then the way to do so is you really want to find like a good place to find the icons SVGs. And then I got the idea, which is like, okay, there are a ton of free icons and then graphics designed for UI and UX like designers. So basically I just took the icons from this website. For example, the Lucid one here is like like good choice. And then the most importantly, most of the icons are like pretty open sourced, and then they don't have a license issue, which you can free to use in your papers, right? So now we can just pick some icons for this one to indicate their tasks, and then for this first one is, you know, the task is translation, right? So we can just pick one like translate, and then this is an icon here, which I don't know, maybe I'll pick this one here. So basically, I can copy the SVG here, or maybe I can just copy a PNG here, which doesn't matter. And then I just paste in here. You see this icon just show up in Figma, and then I use the function called scale, which this thing will show up again. I'll maybe make it 25 times big. Maybe it's too much, right? 25 times bigger. Maybe it's like 3 times bigger, and I can put icon here. Now it started to become weird because like this icon has like ugly overlapping there, which I'll fix very quickly. And then we can do similar thing for the other one. This cola is task for predicting the like acceptability for this sentence, which I don't know. I'll just create like an AI brain for that as like surrogate. I don't really know. So I just save my SVG's icons here. This one is try to measure the similarity between these two sentences. It's like semantic, a textual similarity baseline is the acronym for STSB. So maybe I'll use like a measure, like the ruler one, putting it here. Oh, actually I need to copy the SVG, so it will show up here. And then the last one is summarization, which I guess I'll just use like a zoom button as a way to say, oh, we are really shrinking the text, we are zooming out, right? So we will put the SVG here, and then we just, sorry, I forgot to do this thing again. We can put the SVG here, and then we just zoom, we just like make this like 5 times bigger. And then remember, like making this, oh, this is not 5, this is maybe 3, I think. Remember, if we do this like scales all the time, then we don't need to worry about the inconsistency between these two shapes, right? Because now we know all of them must have like different, have the same like width and height, which you can inspect here. Okay, so we use this like left alignment. Just I did. I use this left alignment, so they have like left aligned, and then we can. I don't really want you to spend more time in terms of design here because we talked about design last time, and then there are many techniques we can talk later. But I just want to quickly show you. Yeah, you can put stuff here, and then just to highlight the correspondence between these two objects, this input and output across the model input and output. Okay. So and then finally it's about uniformity, which it's good to keep some consistency between shapes and objects. People can find the rhythm across these objects, and then people can find it easier to do the contrast and the reasoning about the visuals later, which I'll show you in the next example. Okay, so hope this is not too much. And then you can take note on your sheet. Basically, I designed this way so you can just write down something helpful for any of the specific bullet points there. Okay, so is it good? Okay. Now let's talk about SimGen. In the SimGen example here, I really want to stress about the making of this shape, this structure here, because this really illustrates some of the really interesting techniques that you can do with Figma. Maybe only with Figma, because there's some like functionality I'm going to borrow from, which is designed for some other different purposes. So think again, like I really want to ask you about like what do you think of this region here? Do you think that's just like a regular text box? But hopefully I can make it like more clear. But then you see there is like some tiny highlights for some of these like symbolic linkings for the text here, right? I mean, I feel really bad at this project cannot show this, but maybe I should do a better job in the future for highlighting these boxes here, right? So the question is like, do you think this is just like a simple like text box with all the text, or do you think there's something intricate about this one? So we can have this like mingled display of this individual text and it's like text in a highlight box.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's like it's clickable. Like if we
Yeah.
select on the
Yeah.
highlighted
Yeah.
thing, it will show us.
Yeah.
pop-up.
Right, right, definitely. Okay, maybe I already hinted on it. It's not. It's like this is a thing. I'm going to show you how to do that very quickly and effectively in Figma. Okay, so I already copied the text here. Maybe I'll just do the same copying again. I'll just copy these two things into our live session here. So remember, we'll just paste things here. It did not show up. Very interesting. Maybe I'll just try to copy again, and then it should perhaps show up. Okay, I just copy the text here. And then by the way, the text here, you can use like Command and your scrolling wheel to zoom in and zoom out. Maybe Command plus and Command minus to do zoom in and zoom out, which should be straightforward and pretty like reasonable if you play some video games, right? Yeah. Okay. So I have basically our goal is trying to recreate this bottom part here, and then the actual text I've already copied here, like the Portland Trailblazers, blah blah blah, in this way. Which I do this for like demonstration purpose, but actually it should be pretty straightforward. You can just write some Python code to replace the space with like a new line here, right? So okay, so the thing I'm going to do here is I'll show you a technique called like auto layout to do some really fancy stuff here. So similar deal, we just create like a frame for this one. I will start some like initial example for you, or maybe actually I think it's better for me to show you this functionality directly through this visual, which I'm just going to copy here and paste here. Okay, so this is like by the way, I need to cite this source. This is one I searched and find on like a Figma plugin share, like a Figma design share, and then I reuse that. But basically, if you think this like just like a screenshot for text, that's actually not the case, because what I can do really is just like, okay, I can just reorder the text, like do crazy stuff, and then even better, I can do like a stacked view for this one. I don't know if it's not visible in this one, but then I can do many crazy things. For example, okay, I already duplicated. I can do many crazy things. For example, I can adjust the spacing between this one here. I can adjust this. I can make the top and bottom padding larger, and then for each of the element here, what I can do is like I can increase I can increase the gap between the objects, etc. Okay, so that's kind of the thing we're going to, because this auto layout can make your life way much easier in terms of like mixed placing between many different objects. Okay, so I remove this one, and let's think about how to design like auto layout for this part. So the way what we're going to do is let's create, I don't know, like a simple text. Like let's start from the very key elements here, which is like, okay. So now if we take a closer look, I hope, it's still not visible enough. But if we take a closer look, there are just only two types of elements here, right? Which is like a regular text box and then a box with a background. Maybe even more extremely, there's just one element here, right? Because we can literally just set the background of regular text to white, and then they're just like the same component, right? So the first step, as usual, is like, okay, we start to design this like a basic element for the text, which is, okay, similar deal, we draw like rectangular box, and then we draw some text, like maybe we start with Z as a text here. And then now, this is a really important part, which like the text mode, the text box mode really matters, because we need to set this to auto widths, and then we want to like do this like vertical and center alignment between these two boxes here. Okay. Now we create a group, and then we just set this to be like, this is the first example of auto layout, which is like we use Shift A to create like an auto layout. Shift A to create auto layout. And then now you see there's this like little like bars here. You can adjust this space, which you can do like adjust this like left and right paddings. You can adjust this top and bottom paddings very easily for this one. And then the thing I'm going to do is like, okay, before I make this to a component, maybe I'll just change this to some like a whitish color like this one here. Okay, maybe I should not change to too white because you cannot see that. Maybe this is like okay whitish color, you can see that, okay? And then now, same deal, we just create a component out of it. This component has this like wait. This is okay. I create like an auto layout for this one, and then I create like a component based on this one. Okay, so like this component has this like auto layout specified, so it has a similar functionality to adjust the space and then shape around that, right? Okay, so now we just do this a few more times. Basically, we can do this like for Portland, and then it's showing up, right? Portland trail. I should do this. But I want to stop here and then just highlight one key thing here. Remember we did this mode, this like auto width mode for text before, right? So, for example, I just changed this thing like test. You see the background is automatically adjusting its width based on the text we are typing here, right? So that is the design of that's why I want to mention the text mode here, because now it starts to matter a lot in terms of we can do here in the end, right? So and then still like kind of good, and then we do the same thing, which is like we can change the color slightly. We can make it like a blue 3, and then it's too blue. But then for illustration purpose, I just want to like do this for now. Okay, so far so good. And then imagine we have, I don't know, 20 elements of this. What are we going to do, right? Because now imagine in a case where if we have 20 of this, we just manually like do this like layout for this objects, right? Maybe it's not clear enough, but then let me just use this text as an example because it contains all the text here, okay? So the problem here is like all the text here is in just one single giant text box. And I want to break it down into like individual text boxes. And the way I'm going to do so is there's another tool called like text cutter, which it can split the text based on new lines. So if I hit split text, now it becomes like individual text boxes, right? So now it saves me a lot of time, but then the more interesting thing is like now it has this like fixed, this auto hide by fixed width mode, right? I just switch this mode. Now you see each one has different widths, okay? And then, but still, like this thing puzzles me a lot because like, okay, this is not perfect because there's like still some long text. But then maybe we'll choose this few examples here. I need to do some manual fixing, but hopefully it's not too much of time. So I just do this like text cutter thing again. And then I do the adjust for the text mode. Okay, so we have this few tokens here, which should be roughly good for now. But then think again, like if we were to do a similar structure like this one here, we have to do like manually, like we need to manually align this text in such a way, and then maybe there's a 33, right? And then dash 30. We can do it okay because I just mentioned we have some like alignment tools from Figma we can use, right? But the idea is like, okay, so I have this like crappy aligned text, right? I can just click this button, like align at the top, and we can distribute the horizontal space, and this is fine, right? This is also fine, which we can align things at top, right? Sort of okay, right? Like we sort of recreate this like text structure with this like individual text component here, right? But then if we were to do the resizing, right? If we want to like adjust the width of the object, it becomes terrible in terms of what's really happening there, right? So the way to do so is still like I said, is still to create like an auto layout for this one, which I just use Shift A to create auto layout. And you see this one here, there's this like wrap function here, which is completely change the way we're going to do stuff, right? Because now it just automatically wraps the text instead of like really resizing each of the box and components. And then we can just reduce the size between each of the text, right? Okay, so now then the idea is like if you go into here, the reason why we need this auto layout is that, okay, we can pull in this component. Maybe it's too big. Maybe I'll make it like, like smaller, maybe, too small. Maybe I can just send this into auto layout. Now you see that this object has been sent into auto layout, and then it's become like part of the auto layout group. Now things become very, very interesting because literally like we are doing this like mixed layout of these two types of elements. And then basically we sort of recreated this design in a way, which I'm going to show you actually how things come together. Okay, but so far so good. Is there anything confusing to you in terms of this like layout stuff? Okay, so the idea is now maybe I should perhaps like completely follow the design here, like. I need to like recreate this like parentheses and then 30 and then and then 30 here. Okay. Maybe it's too much time for you to see me typing this here, but okay. So now, like the simple thing we can do here is like we create like an auto layout for all these components, and we now we have two knobs to adjust, right? Because we can adjust the individual layout of this like specific like we can adjust the element style. And then we can adjust, we adjust element style, right? We can make it like I don't know, like a 25, like round corner, but there's something buggy about that. I remove that, which is maybe too much, right? We don't need to 25. Maybe just use 5, and then there's another thing we can adjust here, which is like for the auto layout here. Okay, we can adjust their spacing. The spacing maybe is too big, then we can adjust this vertical spacing here, and now we have this similar effect as one at top. But we also have the option to do resizing, because the reason why we need this happen is like when you make the figures, you need to do a ton of adjustment in the end to change the spacing, to change the space, to change the width to fit into the paper like constraint. And then having this easy adjustment just makes things way more easier in your actual editing later. Okay, so that's the one thing for auto spacing, auto layout actually. And then there are many like other fancy things you can do for auto layout, because this whole functionality is inspired by like UI UX design, because when you make like HTML element, you want to have this sort of like layout functionality for that. But then I sort of borrowed that into our like figure making process. Okay. And then the next thing I want to show you is this part, which is like trailblazers. This is like little like tooltip like structure there, which is kind of like this goes to the other concept, which is kind of like analogies, which is in your design you want to create like similar objects that people may see in real life to remind them, oh yeah, like people can easily come through what is this about, right? So then we have this pointer-like structure when we have this like tooltip here, just to remind people, oh, this is an explanation for 30, right? And then instead of like a specific write this out, right? And then how do you create this like this tooltip is kind of an interesting topic. So the first step to create this tooltip is trying to find some real-world example tooltips and then see how they work, right? So basically, I've already done the job, which is like they have this like, sort of like a whitish text with this like a darker background, and then there's like a little pointer to the element here, showing you it's explain this element here, right? And then there's like some like a transparency in the background, just showing you, yeah, it's like overlay the background objects, right? So apparently this shape is not in the Figma like default shape library, because you see the default shape is like rectangle, line, arrows, ellipse, polygon, star, and a picture of video, which is not supported there by default. So what we're going to do is like, okay, we have to do something of our own, which we still the same. We create like a rectangle here. We make like, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe 15 like round corner here, and then we still do the text, which trail blazers. Okay, I don't want to do everything there. I just want to show the rough meaning for that, right? And then we want to make the font. Okay, somewhat it's like, okay, we want to make the text slimmer, and then we just basically we unbold the text, and then we want to make this like a whitish color, which is maybe this is white enough, and then I want to make this like really dark. Remember, we're using open colors to make this coloring very quick, and then so far so good, right? We roughly get it done. We center the text, we center everything, and then so far maybe if you really want, we can auto layout the same, but we don't want to do it now. But then the question is like, how do we make this like little triangle here, right, to make it looks like real-ish thing? Right, so the way we're going to do is using this like Boolean operation, which I guess you might also have encountered before in other software. But the way to do so is like, okay, we create like a rectangle here, which is a polygon rectangle, right? We set this to the same color, which is like gray 8, right? Because that's a beautiful part of this design like color system, which is like you just need to reference this gray 8, and then that's it, right? So we took we rotate it by 90 degrees, but also there's a quicker way to do so, which is like a vertical flip, which is like a Shift V. You just vertically flip this one, and then maybe the angle there's like we want to change the tip not to be too sharp, kind of like have the angle be slightly larger than 90 degrees maybe. And then now we have to do the shuffling for the ordering of the layers, right? We just shuffle this polygon to this layer, maybe to this one below, and then now it has like rough same filling for this one, right? And then the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to union these two shapes to create like one single union shape. Now this is like it's not two shape, but just like one single shape union together. Right. I mean, you can do more. You can change the mode into, I don't know, like a subtract, which doesn't really work. Doesn't help for this one. Maybe exclude this one. I just show you can do other Boolean operations for shapes, right? And then final step is, okay, you can start to have some transparency for this object, right? Okay, I need to group them again. So you want to have some transparency of the object. And the way you're going to do so, there are two ways actually, but depending on your goal. One way is like you change the layer transparency mode. You can make this layer, I don't know, 50% transparent. And then the way to do so is like you move this to other objects. See, oh, this layer is like transparent. You can see others, right? This is like layer level transparency. But the point is like it would change everything in this layer to be transparent. Or the other thing is like, we can do this like a color level transparency. The idea is like, okay, we have this like this gray color, which is like a specified color in the library, right? We want to do the similar thing, which is like we want to detach this like a pre-specified color schema, and then we just set this to like, I don't know, 60%. Now it's a similar effect here, but then the difference is like only the color transparency has been changed. Okay, because you can add other style. You can, for example, you can add strokes here, right? Because like, okay, this is bad, but you see, like now the stroke is not transparent, but then only the background is transparent. But then if I change this to 100%, but then if I change the layer mode to like 20, oh sorry, if I change the layer mode to 25%, now you see both the stroke and then background is transparent, okay? So that concludes this part, which is like, we talk about analogies, we talk about auto layout, and then talk about this like Boolean operations to make shapes. Okay, so yeah, this is like, we learned how to composite shapes, analogy, auto layout, and then we use a plugin to cut the text, okay? So, okay, we have one last example, but then I want to stop here a little bit and then see if there's anything I can ask your thoughts. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So we talk about components, right? You can create a component and create instance from that.
Yeah.
Can you do it like, suppose I have created components, and later I create, say, a text box.
Sorry, components, and then later create like.
Yeah, later. So I have some components created. Later I have created another text, another rectangle and text in there.
Yeah.
And then can I apply a component there, like already created?
Yeah. That's an excellent question. So the quick answer is not straightforwardly, but I can show you there's another plugin I used before that can help me do that. Which, okay, I'll just a quick demo, but basically I will like take some objects out, and then okay, I just cut this and then take it out. There's few objects here, and then you know we detach this instance here, right? So now we have this like 5 objects without any components, right? Because you see that they're just auto layouts, right? And then but just as a proof, you know, if I do anything with this one, no. You know, it won't change the others, right? So the thing I used to do is like, you know, there's a plugin called a master, which we can create a component from object. Then this is bad actually, but the thing I used to do is like that plugin. If I select these 4 objects, you can create component. And then now it applies all this in that object, because if I do anything there, yeah.
No, but you are creating a new one, but it's not probably possible to apply.
Yeah. So far, I did not find a good solution for that. But this is like one like proxy solution, which is like you have some components. I mean, you have some objects which you forgot to create a component, right? This is like the backup solution, which is like, oh, you know, this thing can help you automatically create a component based on that. But okay. Then the last one is like from some slides I made before, but the idea is like about highlighting and de-highlighting the information there. So the idea is like, okay, apparently I'm showing you like a Slack screenshot, and then I really want to highlight these 2 components here, which is like the 2 messages here, and then typically you see people just like draw a box there around the shape there, but actually they turn out to be like slightly lower quality in my perspective, because you cannot really see the differences and the highlighted part. So what I'm going to do here is like, okay, I'll start with this figure and tell you how to make that one. So the same deal, I'm going to copy the figure there and then paste it in this plot, this canvas here, which should be straightforward. And then I create a new frame. I just copy this one here, right? So the simplest thing we can do for this figure here is, you know, we make it less transparent, and then which we achieved like, I don't know, 25% of the effect here, right? But then how do we do for other areas? So the technique here is this, which is we'll create 2 copies of the figure. One copy and the other copy. And then I hide this one for now, but then I'll keep this one here, and then I'll just show you this is like, the figure is like 25% transparent, okay? But then now for this top one, let me show that again, which is everything there. And then now I am going to change the figure mode into cropping, such that I will just crop this one here, and then you can see like, maybe I should hide this, like, I'm just cropping this figure now, and I just show this part here, okay? So now there's only this part left. And then now if I just unhide this one, you see this part is naturally highlighted. And then I can just do something like adding stroke to make it like stand out, and then I can adjust this thing to be like, I don't know, 10%, which seems to be okay. But then just as like another way, you see there's like some subtle like shadows behind the curtain for this one here. And then if you simply do this transparency, if you just like, you can add shadows very easily here, which is also good actually for this one. Like, yeah, you can just do that, because still, like, if the point is like, if I just use layer level shadows, it's not really that good. But then if I use this like figure level shadows, then it won't hide the shadows. Okay, and then there's still another problem, which is, if I want to, like, I want to do this thing again, right? If I use this cropping for figures, you want to do this again, and you need to manually figure out the cropping again, which is somewhat like not the best way to do so. And then to do this, I need to introduce another idea, which is called like a masking. So I want to do this again. Let me start from scratch, which I still the same figure, but then now I'm going to do something slightly different, which is I'm going to draw a rectangular box here, which I want to change this to be transparent, add a stroke here, and then draw a box here, right? Now what I'm going to do is like, I want to create a group for this two shape, and then I want to move this to the bottom, and I want to change the layer into a mask. So now after changing this layer to a mask, then it's become like very like apparent what we're going to do there, which is this is a mask that's like used to mask this image here. So similarly, we just put this into the background and we change this to 25%. But then the benefit is that, okay, if we duplicate this layer, and then if we just move this rectangle to this one here, then now we just naturally, get another like masking. And then we can do any adjustment for these figures, but then the mask stays there, which does not interfere with us. And then we can just create like another like edge box for that one, which this is a bit trickier, because for that edge box we need to move this out of the mask, and we need to put it at the bottom here, so it becomes like apparent. Okay, so actually no. Like we need to put the top, but then we need to remove the fills for that, and then that's it. So that is a technique for creating figures like that, which is about like highlights and de-highlights, and we started to involve visuals, which is like the screenshot for Slack, and we use masking to composite that figure for stuff. Okay, so. I think that's it for now, because we did not have a stop in the middle of today, so I think we're kind of good. But then I hope that's helpful. But I also think there's a ton of stuff being covered very quickly. But we can just finish the slide, which is like, okay, we talked about the analogy between making figures and writing code. I hope this concept now is sort of like evident to you now, because like literally there's a lot of like programming type of thinking in the figure making process, and then we decompose a figure through recreation, and then I think I showed you some of the most critical Figma techniques to you in terms of making things you won't be able to do before. Yeah, right, cool. So I think we can stop here, but let me know if you have any questions, and then I think otherwise that's it for today.